Ah, beer. It's hops, barley, wheat and water. And with these 4 basic ingredients, we've been drinking this sugary water for centuries. With staying in being the new going out, craft brewing has literally blossomed overnight, creating a niche market. This is the story of Irish craft beer.
Barley has been cultivated by the Egyptians up to 5,000 years ago. We know that they were growing it, and we're still using it today to make beer. Beer has evolved over time. It started off as an alcoholic beverage of dubious origin and of variable quality. There were no sewerage systems, there was no water treatment. In the olden days, beer was sort of like a table beer, so it was low alcohol, but there was hops in it. And everybody, when they were having their meal, would have beer as a source of water, as a source of liquid for their diet. But it was far, far safer than the water out in the streams.
We now have a better understanding of how crops work, and advances in technology have let us look better at crop systems and understand them better. Traditionally, we've used pesticides and fertilizers to help push the plant along. Today, that's not really acceptable. So it's on us now as an industry to be more sustainable, accept that these practices are what they are, and help move that forward. We do have a brewing side to Alltech as well, which is quite well known, but then I guess our core business is the animal feed. When you look at alcohol production, you can look at byproducts from that, like dry distiller's grain, and that can be used as a feed product then as well afterwards.
So effectively we get good beer and animals get fed.
Best of both worlds.
Right, you're dragging me through a field of what?
We're standing here in a field of winter wheat here in Dunboyne. It's a winter sown variety, and it's currently about halfway through the growing season. This field of winter wheat we would expect on average over 10 tonne per hectare, almost a double-decker bus weight of grain per 10 football pitches.
We use an extract from that, so it's really the sugars that we're looking for?
Yes, you're looking for yeast to convert the sugars into alcohol. It all starts back when we plant the seed in the field. We look for rain, we look for the climate. We have a good climate in Ireland, which gives some of the highest yields in the world.
So really what you're telling me is it's just down to our shitty weather why we're getting such good crops and such good craft beer.
Exactly. As much as we like to give out about it, it's actually a unique selling point for Ireland.
I like the sound of that. Now that I've seen the origins of my ingredients, it's time to find out what their individual purposes are in my brew.
What we have here are some of the key ingredients for making beer around the world. We have Irish barley, and as you know, here's a fantastic climate for growing barley, and we get some of the best barley in the world.
Can I smell this?
Yep, smell away.
There's no smell off that.
No, and it's really when you malt it and crush it and mix it with warm water, you get this fantastic malty, biscuity sweetness. Apart from the barley then, we also have, I've given you 2 different types of hops. So here we have a Cascade hops. This is famous around the world for making IPA.
Oh, I love the smell of those hops.
It adds a bitterness to the beer, and the bitterness is a key part of beer in terms of preserving its shelf life and giving it fantastic flavour. Here we have a New Zealand hop, and we've selected this because we really like the aroma of this as well. So have a smell of that and compare it to the Cascade hops.
Oh my God.
These can be used for bittering, but their main benefit is in actually these wonderful aromas.
Okay, so I'm no expert, so let's find out how difficult brewing can be. So, given an international reputation and a history for brewing beer, just how difficult is it to produce your own? The boys and girls from the Home Brew Company down in County Laois sent us up this goodwill package. Inside this box should be everything we need to produce our own beer. Let's give it a shot. We have our brewer's sugar, primer sugar for when it goes into the bottles, a muslin cloth, I suppose, for the hoses to stop sucking up bits and pieces. Very important, our hops, giving it that lovely aroma and that lovely flavour. Now, This is our kit bag. This is what our beer is going to be. It's the barley, the malt, and the extracts that are all in this sort of treacle. So that's going to go into the 2 buckets that we've got, mixed with the water, and that's the start of our beer. Why are instructions always so bloody difficult to follow? Right, lots of boiling water, heating extracts, add the sugar. Don't forget to add the yeast to react with the sugar. It's amazing, already I can get that sort of malty beer smell. I haven't even added the hops yet. It's time to fill this baby up and then put it somewhere nice and warm for at least the next 5 days. We'll come back to this a little later on. To become a commercial brewing success, I don't quite think my 2-bucket method is going to cut it.
Craftworks is a contract brewery. People come in to brew with us and we allow them to bring their recipe. We help them scale it up from their home brew system to a full size 600 litre batch, and then we brew for them.
So really you create a space for people to develop a business. You're like the IDA.
I wish I get some funding, huh? Yeah, it's an exciting time for everyone who's starting a new business, and we get to see that every day. A good example is Hope Brewing.
Myself and a friend in Holland, an old school friend in Holland, looked at the possibility of setting up a craft beer brewery in Ireland. We got in contact with Craftworks Brewery in Cabra to see would they brew our beers, and basically then come about July we decided, okay, we'll brew 3 times 550 litres of beer. It would have probably been better to do it for about 6 or 12 months before making the decision, but we were keen to get going with it anyway, and we had more or less in our minds said, listen, we want to do this. We ordered the equipment in October, and that's where we are now.
So effectively what you're telling me is that today your baby has been delivered.
So what we're buying here is a 20 hectolitre brew house. That's 3 20 hectolitre vessels, a mash tun, a lauter tun, and a whirlpool.
What sort of investment is required to get to this stage?
Leaving the blood, sweat and tears aside, I'm doing this with a friend of mine who lives in Dublin as well, Des McSwiggan, and the 2 of us have basically been planning and working this since July, even earlier, probably April last year. In terms of monetary investment, it's not just the capital that's going in here. You know, you'd buy a nice house for the capital that's going in here, but you'd buy 2 nice houses for the investment that goes into the building. The investment in the infrastructure, the bottling line, the kegging line, and then the brew house and all the fermentation tanks. It's probably 2 nice houses in the Sutton or Howth area.
So as we've seen, it's one thing to be a home brewer, another thing to be a microbrewery, or even contract brewing for other brands. But the commercial reality is that if you want to deliver consistently to a wide-ranging market, you need something a bit like this. Shane Long is the owner of Franciscan Well, a craft beer that's been on the market for some time and has seen its popularity go from strength to strength.
Back when we started, it was microbrewed beer. The term craft is an American term, which is only here in the last 3 years. When we started, there was 11 of us. Only 3 survived out of that 11. In 2012, there was 22 of us, and now there's close to 100 breweries in Ireland.
Do you brew for you or for a customer?
I have yet to brew a beer just for myself. It's always been driven by the customer. The sole purpose of this was to create a busy pub. We didn't anticipate that the business was going to go on the way it did.
In fact, the big boys came in and took an interest.
We were approached by several different companies. Through process of elimination, I viewed that Molson Coors were the best fit for what we were trying to create as an entity here. We didn't want to just hand it over and it become some huge entity overnight that could fade away into the distance. We were offered vast sums of money from another entity, but I knew that wasn't going to work. That wasn't the right fit for us. So Molson Coors gave me those guarantees that I needed to let go of the company.
I believe now you have a new brewery up and running.
Yes, a long time coming. Probably 5 to 6 years longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's not a bad thing either.
So at what stage does it actually become beer?
After the lauter tun. So when it drains down through the grains, we pipe it into the kettle. That's more or less beer. So that's the kettle where we add some more hops.
So this it over here, is it? What sort of output are you actually getting from all of these?
Well, each brew is 50 hectolitres, so it takes about 4 hours to do a 50 hectolitre brew. We can do up to 8 in 24 hour period. So we can watch each step of the process.
So this is really the brains of the system.
Yeah, that works everything from each step of the process.
This is really the start of our beer system in here, is it?
Exactly, yeah. And from there goes into our lauter tun, which is the next step of the process.
So you're saying that this could take you like an additional week to brew?
It takes a week before we even filter it because it has to be fermented first.
Right, okay.
So fermentations have to come down, then filter by beer tank out to the keg machine.
So it's a long time to wait for a pint, isn't it? You've said that naming a beer is quite like naming your first child.
It's a very humbling experience. I'm just back from London, and to sit at a bar and watch somebody go up and hand over their hard-earned money for a pint of my beer and ask for it by name and not look at what's on the list, just that it's now a brand call, it never gets old.
Shane, thanks very much for your time. Cheers.
What's quite interesting, I think, is one of the key consumer segments. You know, when you're setting up a business, you have to look at who your market is, who your customer ultimately is. And there's a very distinct customer, and that's new dads. New dads, because they can't go to the pub. They can't go to the pub as much as they used to.
Yes.
So on a Friday evening, they'll call into the off license, which is the adult sweet shop, and they'll choose 3 nice craft beers.
There's just no denying the impact that craft beer is having on retail.
Carryout is a franchise of 107 independent off licenses right throughout the country. It originally started maybe 12, 13 years ago in Cork and has slowly but surely progressed up the country. What it allows is it allows the independent off-licence to group together and use its bulk buying power to be competitive in the marketplace against the big players.
How many craft beers do you stock, and what does that mean in terms of the traditional beers that we're used to?
Craft beer is really still in its infancy. We stock, in actual fact, about 400 different craft beers. Now, within brands of that, you're probably talking about 100 brands with a selection of beers from each brand. Most traditional beers are actually lagers, while in the craft beer sectors, we have so many different varieties of beers, from lagers to ales to saisons to hybrid beers, and the variety of beers is so much superior.
Is there a difference between male drinkers and female beer drinkers?
The beer market is still dominated by males, but that is changing, where women, and particularly younger women, are willing to try beers. They've now discovered that beers don't always taste like those mainstream beers, that there is a variety of tastes out there, and that there are styles that they particularly like.
Craft brewers consider themselves the David and Goliath in the brewing world. What has that meant to your bottom line?
It does make a difference in a sense that the margins and the retail prices per bottle are generally higher. People don't necessarily go out and spend any more money than they would have traditionally. And also the investment in spacing and refrigeration that is required for craft beers is actually greater.
If you're stocking over 100 brands of beer, what's the biggest issues to carry out as a retailer?
The difficulty is to do it space. We can't fit every beer on the shelf. We have to make calls. So we actually, try to be selective. We pick and choose people based on the quality of their beer, what sort of branding they've put into it. Will we believe people will actually be attracted by the bottle, or do we have to put a huge amount of effort into trying to actually sell it? So, it's important. The craft brewer has to take into consideration probably very similar items that some of the mainstream brewers do in branding on their bottle or any other products or point of sale that they may supply. What marketing have they done in the local community? Are they willing to do tastings in store, meet the brewer events, and push their brand so it's not just solely on the retailer to sell the product for them? And unfortunately, in the future, we are going to see some of the brands disappear, and in actual fact, some of them already have.
So does craft beer typically have brand loyalty, or is that being eroded away because of the sheer numbers of beers that are available?
People have a tendency to like a particular beer or to find a beer that they enjoy to drink on a day-to-day basis. But in the craft beer sector, they have a tendency then to try other beers alongside that. So it's important that the brewers maintain their quality, maintain their communication with the consumers, whether it's through social media or whatever, to maintain that brand loyalty.
Now, it's true that in the last number of years that there's been dwindling numbers in the local pubs. Can the same be said for the off-licence industry?
For the independent off-licence sector, it has been a difficult number of years. And that is one of the reasons where we joined up with the Carryout Group, where we could compete against the larger multiples on the mainstream beers and give us that competitive edge, and then layer on top of that the quality items of craft beer and growlers and other items like that that give us a competitive advantage against the mainstream retailers.
So how does a retailer like Carryout adapt to this ever-changing market?
We need to look as to what people want. What do they require? What will they want in the future? We need to look at trends that follow around the world, like growlers from the US, which we have here in store. You know, are we giving the online offering like we do through the beer club? Are we doing things like that that the younger population are very happy with? You know, should the person be able to place their order for beer sitting on their couch, watching their movie at home, press a couple of buttons on their smartphone and have beer delivered to them without having to leave their home? That is a growing trend, and it is something, you know, the independent off-licence sector can do better than the multiples.
Here in Wexford's sunny southeast, a heady mix of artistry and craft beer is helping publicans lure customers back to the bars and pubs.
Take it easy, baby. Take it slow. We got all the time now to let it show. I'm so sorry, lady, for what I said.
This is brilliant. This is some night.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
What makes the last Friday sessions completely different?
Well, basically it's a platform for original music, and like I've been playing music all my life. I've been writing songs for years, and it's always been a difficulty for, well, especially for Irish acts, to just find places where they can actually go out and play their own songs.
Do you think the way in which we socialise or go drinking, do you think that's changing?
Absolutely, and I think it's changed in a very positive way. We had a drinking culture that was more about kind of people going out and just seeing how much they can drink, whereas nowadays I think it's much more about the social aspect of it. Down in Bulbwee, you've got your original music at the last Friday sessions, but as well as that, you've got the kind of rise in craft beer, and I kind of get the impression that it's much more about people seeing how they got the ability to make something that people will like, as opposed to, you know, just wanting to consume large amounts of alcohol. It's about the art, I suppose, of making something that could be popular.
Would you come and rescue me? Would you come and rescue me?
It's almost like a jigsaw, I think, where you've got the rise in craft beer, you've got original music, and the social aspect is where the two combine, and that's what I think makes the likes of the last Friday session so popular, you know, where people can get a bit of everything.
So original music, that sort of artistry, it seems to go hand in hand then really with craft beer.
Gone are the days of, we'll say, you're coming out for your 10 pints of stout. that's done and dusted. People are out now, they're looking for maybe something tasty, something different, like people just love a little bit of entertainment, and they love trying new beers. Craft beer and music go hand in hand. Also, people are beginning to realise that being local is good as well.
So really what you're talking about is kind of shop local.
Shop local, yeah.
Is it difficult to maintain a presence or a line?
If you fall off the shelf at all, you're gone. So you have to really, keep it turning over and keep up to the mark, basically. Because what I do is I don't show the label, I just give them tasters, and then they'll point to which one they think is, I like this one. So that way it works, and I will stock what my customers like.
You're trying to tell me that you're not getting paid for doing all the marketing and research for all of these brewers?
It would be nice if I was.
Our homebrew is after going through its second fermentation, so another 10 days in the second bucket. Now it's time to add in the primer sugar and to start bottling our beer. This explosion of interest into craft beer isn't just for the lads either. Hi ladies, how are you?
Hi. Hello.
Neil, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you, I'm Christina.
Christina?
I'm Hilary.
Hi Hilary, how you doing?
I'm good.
So, what are the Ladies of Beer?
Well, the Ladies Craft Beer Society, we're about 3 years old now, and we exist to promote and encourage women in craft beer. We exist to highlight the role of women in the craft beer industry.
Tell us a little bit about what you guys do as part of a group.
We do things like brewery tours. We're going to start doing like beer education classes. And once a month we try to get together for just monthly pints out, where we just sit, have pints and talk.
So really, it's just a big session?
Kind of, but we do a lot of other things. We also have done like collaboration brews.
Do men and women taste things in a different way?
Well, they say statistically speaking that 35% of women are super tasters, where 15% of men are super tasters. And what a super taster is someone who, for example, when they're drinking beer, could perhaps pick up on different notes in the beer more easily than someone who isn't.
What is it you look for in a beer?
For me personally, I like Belgian beers, specifically lambics, which are sour. I also like ciders, but if I'm just having a pint or something, I'll go for something like an IPA, something easy, smooth, nice. I like a little bit of hoppiness.
Well, I think we better have a pint, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah. With over 100 new breweries popping up all over Ireland and a huge public interest in craft brewing, what else would you do but celebrate? This is the annual Alltech Craft Beer and Food Fair.
The artisan style of production, the artisan, the local type of production, has got what consumers are wanting. They're wanting change, they're wanting difference. It's a revolution out there and looking for something different. And it was about time that the beer world caught on to that.
It's probably the most well-attended international event for brewers from all over.
Well, we're here at the convention centre. We'll have 10,000 people here. Yesterday, for example, we had our big competitions. We had the Dublin Cup for cider. We had the Dublin Cup for beer. These guys come from all over the world. They want to have the Dublin Cup. There are 10,000 craft brewers around the world.
So where's this all going now?
It's an interesting question. Where is craft brewing going? It's going to die, and these guys will, move away. Well, let me tell you, it's been dying for 25 years. And it started a little bit in England, what was called CAMRA, C-A-M-R-A, Campaign for Real Ale. Where's this going? The old phrase, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Guinness World Records.
Yes.
You set a challenge
yes.
for beer tasting.
Yes.
And I believe we've broken the record last night.
Again, it's synonymous, and it's what this meeting is about. Guinness. It's not the Heineken Book of Records. It's not the Pabst Book of Records. It's not the Budweiser Book of Records. It's the Guinness Book of Records. And so we went looking to see, what was it there with regard to beer? and there was a challenge. The Mexicans have brought together just over 700 people in a very disciplined tasting. And we said, we'll take that challenge. And so last evening, we broke the record. We had 729 people, and when we announced that Ireland was now the winner, let me tell you, you could have raised the roof with the cheer.
Brewing science is a mixture of chemistry, biochemistry, microbiology, and then we have heating and cooling, so there's thermodynamics in there as well, and that has to be done in a plant, so there's engineering, and there's all of these combined is brewing science.
Could you make it sound awful difficult? You know, it sounds a lot more like alchemy than anything else.
It is a craft. I mean, whilst we can know all the science, I have 3 degrees, and I have tried my best to understand brewing to the deepest level. I think at the moment it's a very, very interesting time for beer in Ireland and abroad. This fair is incredible here. We had 10,000 people through the door, and they have a curiosity for beers and brewing. It's not a curiosity or a mania for drinking. It's actually, they're curious about different types of beers. People are using spices, and they're using rye, and they're using non-conventional beer ingredients. And people are just lapping it up here. They're saying, this is really nice.
There's also a bit of a competition going on there.
We've been receiving in beers and ciders from all over the world. We have an Irish winner for the first time in 3 years of the Craft Beer Cup. Isn't that great to see that Irish craft brewers and Irish cider makers are being seen as the best on an international stage? It's a fantastic endorsement of the creativity and the craft that's here in Ireland.
So now that we've made our beer, I think the only thing we have left to do is have a barbecue and see how it tastes.
I really like the colour, but it is that red diesel. Red diesel, that's right. What a flavour description. That's not what I use regularly. No, I didn't say the colour. The colour description. So those bottles have been standing upright then for a while, have they? They have, yeah. Brilliant, yeah. I'll keep them all upright. Yeah.
That's the way that they can't.
Yeah, that's why it's so bright. It's fantastically bright. For bottle conditioned beer, that's brilliant.
Isn't it? Well, this is nearly 3 months old, so it's probably just about right.
The hops in that is lovely. Well done.
It's good, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy now.
You know, there's a caramel. There's a caramel sweetness in that. There's a maltiness, but it's sort of caramelized toffee notes in there as well.
So out of 10,
would you not biased?
What would your
I'll tell you, I really like the hop aroma.
Yeah.
I like the aroma hops. The maltiness coming from the cereal, maltiness and caramel notes are really, really good. The yeast has done its work in terms of it's alcoholic, it's warming. There's some nice fermentation esters in there. If I had one fault with it, it's a little bit thin.
Yeah.
It's fermented down and there isn't a body in it, but the head is nice to start with. But I would drink that, and I would drink another bottle of it, and I'd probably drink another bottle of it. So 7.5 out of 10.
Well, there you have it. Our journey has seen us look at the history of brewing. We've looked at the rise of craft beer in Ireland today, and we've even tried our hand at brewing some of our own. That said, there's only one thing left to do. Enjoy beer responsibly, and enjoy it with friends. Who's breaking out the guitar?